that's up to you. You don't have to. You can just watch, but it's up to you. When, now you don't know all of these up here, but you do know some of them. So let's refresh your memory. If an angle measures between 0 and 90, it's anywhere between 0 and 90, you've got to visualize that. It would be what type of angle? Acute. Right? Remember we said acute, small. If an angle measures between 90 and 180, so 90 to 180, it's obtuse. Remember we said, think of when you say the word obtuse, you open your mouth bigger than you do when you go acute, right? So it's the bigger angle. A portion of a line between 2 points on the line. This one's a little challenging, so I'm going to help you out. If it's a portion of a line, it's a segment. They're telling you it's a portion of a line. Starts, stops. That's a segment. A figure formed by two rays that share a common endpoint called a vertex. Everyone should know this. Two rays with a common endpoint called a vertex. What's this called? What's it called, y'all? It's an angle. Thank you. It's an angle. Now you can see there's two definitions left, and those are the two definitions we're going to learn today. Preview of what's to come. Angles paired together that add to equal 180 are called supplementary. You don't have to write this down. We're going to write it in a minute. Supplementary. Angles paired together that add to equal 90. You might remember this from that maze. Hold on, I don't spell it wrong. Supplementary. We highlighted it on that maze, and we said, here's a vocab word that you don't know yet. Let me tell you what it means. Huh? I know, it's all right. So those are the vocab words that are on the quiz tomorrow. Okay? Everybody with me? Those are the vocab words that you need to be able to say for the quiz tomorrow. The new ones will be supplementary and complementary, and we're going to do it right now. Okay? All right. So go to this page. What did we say? It was 22?
Yes.
Okay. And we already started it, but my notes disappeared. We said we have adjacent angle. We have adjacent angles. We have vertical angles. We said adjacent angles are just when they have a ray in common and they're side by side. Adjacent angles doesn't mean anything in terms of what do they measure. It just means position, okay, not value. Now vertical angles, this is huge, 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 huge. You've got to know what vertical angles are. Vertical angles are always congruent to each other. And it's formed anytime two lines cross. You have vertical angles. Anytime. Every time. Okay? So here's two lines. We said that one will be congruent to 3, and 2 is congruent to 4. And then we practiced, right? All right. Now, the Delta Math assignment that y'all had from Friday had a couple of problems like this on it. Some of you have not done that Delta Math assignment. I put the missing in yesterday. I need you to make a note to do that in Flex today, please, okay? This missing word, it should not be piling up. It should be like, being turned in. All right, I'm going to throw some highlighters at you, and we're going to finish these notes. I want you to highlight linear pair angles. Linear pair angles. What word do you hear in linear? Line. Write it above it. Linear pair. What does pair mean?
Two.
Two or more, right? Sometimes it could mean just pairing together. Two or more. The name is telling you the angles. It's a pair of angles that form a line. This is why I love math. It's like they didn't get fancy with it and think, oh, I'm going to be sneaky about it. Linear pair. I hear line. I see the word pair. That means two or more. Look over here at this picture. Notice, if you want, you could highlight the line if you want. The two angles are adjacent and they form a straight line. So they are called a linear pair. Okay? Let's write the definition. It means adjacent angles that form a straight line, and by forming that straight line, they've also formed a straight angle. Remember that day we talked about how this straight angle measures 180? That's coming into play right here. So for instance, in this picture over here, angle 1 plus angle 2 has to equal 180 degrees. That's the takeaway. That's what's going to get used every time there's a pair of linear, every time there's a linear pair. All right, let's practice. Look at number 4. Number 4 says find x. All we have to go off of is this angle's 85. Here's x right here. Your clue is the straight angle that the two angles form. So they're a linear pair. That means they have to add up to what? 180. Now there's two ways to do this. Let me show you a technique. I think it's gonna, if you can embrace this technique, it will make life easier in math. Would everyone like easier math?
Yes.
Okay. There's two ways to do this. I'm going to come over here and show you the math. You find the one you like. Alright, this was x. Okay, I'll draw a line right here. The long way, but it works every time, works every single time, is to say, oh, that's a linear pair, so angle plus angle has to equal 180, because from here to here is 180, right? That works every time. Then you would subtract, excuse me, you would subtract the 85, and you would get the answer what? 95?
Yep.
Let me show you, I call it the subtraction method. When we get to the more challenging stuff, the subtraction method is the way to go. Number 1, your equations are shorter. Number 2, shorter equations means less work. Number 3, numbers are smaller. All of those attributes will play a part if you go the subtraction method. Now let me show you what the subtraction method is. You probably, some of you might naturally be doing this in your head. I hope y'all are watching. Alright, so the subtraction method is, you look at the problem and you say to yourself, okay, what's my equation? I have a linear pair, then you would think, oh, okay, they add up to 180, right? The subtraction method, I'm going to make a note, works backwards from the total. Always from the total. Okay, so what is the total here? 180. Then you subtract off what you already know. What do I already know in the picture? I already know 85. So you go to your calculator and you do 180 minus 85, and that would leave you with 95. I never set an equation up, so it's a little scary, but we're going to get to the point where there's still an equation to be set up. It's just right now for this example there wasn't. So that's the subtraction method. It works as well as long as you subtract correctly. You need to make sure to know the total, and you need to make sure to only subtract off what you already know that is part of that total. You know what I mean? Okay, so right here, x is 95 degrees. Okay, everyone try number 5. Can we do the subtraction method here? No, because we don't actually, we do know the total, but we don't know a single angle for sure yet, do we? So instead of being able to do the subtraction method here, you would have to go straight to that equation. So everyone write the equation that you would set up here. So it'd be angle plus angle equals 180. 3y minus 8 plus y plus 6 equals 180. And then you should solve that. Did you get y equals 45.5? No, not quite. So you got 3y plus y, negative 8 plus 6. Now I can start moving stuff to the other side. Add 2. Divide by 4. Right? Now it didn't say find y though, it said find the measure of the angles. So what do I do with the 45.5? You're going to have to plug it in. So this angle here, you're going to plug 3 times 45.5 minus 8 in your calculator. This angle here, 45.5 plus 6. So angle DEG, did you get 128.5? And angle GEF, 51.5. Did you get that? All right, any questions on linear pair? You just recognize that they open up to form a straight line, and your equation is that they add together to equal 180, okay? Now, if you can do linear pair, you can do the next part, which is supplementary. And that's because, wait for it, linear pair angles are supplementary. They go hand in hand. Okay? Let's write the definition. Supplementary means angles that add to equal 180. Angles that add to equal 180. Now, the difference between linear pair and supplementary, because they, like I said, they go hand in hand. The only small difference is sometimes the picture may not show adjacent angles, like touching. Does that make sense? So the ones I just circled, you couldn't say that those are a linear pair because in the picture they're not touching at all. So technically they don't make a straight line. But you could visualize, like if you shoved them together, right? You could see the linear pair. So supplementary means they add up to 180. So for instance, right here, angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180. So this is more practice with that linear pair. I would like everyone right now to do 6 and 7. 6 and 7. I'm going to actually tell you the answer so that there's no secret behind it. Well, I'm not going to tell you the answer to 6, sorry, because that would be no point in doing it if I told you this is a single problem. But I will tell you the answer to 7. So when you solve 7, you should get x is 18, and then you have to find the 2 angles. Remember that the way you learn the math is to try it first on your own, then we check it. And if you got it wrong, you have to correct it, okay? So looking at 6, this was a straightforward one with no expressions, just plain numbers. So you do have the straight line, so it adds to 180. What would x be? 55 degrees. Number 7 is the same approach. You have the straight line, so they're supplementary. They add to 180, and that should have been your equation. When you move things to the other side and then divide by 11, you should get 18, right? What did you get for the angles when you plugged 18 in? 90 each? Yes.
Yeah, I'll divide it 180.
180 divided by 10 is 18. But I'm not sure where the 10...
Yeah, me either. That's all.
So something's off. Oh, you erased it. Don't erase it. I can...
Well, 6 and 5x would equal 11.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
that
where
minus 18's got to go to the other side. That's why I have 198 and not 180. Now, number 8 was the same type of problem, except it was not drawn out. It was just written to you. This is why vocab is so important. So, little backstory here. Geometry, right? When I took geometry in high school, I would like to say that I did not have the best teacher. I'm trying to be positive and not be ugly. I did not have a very good, effective teacher, or I just never tried hard enough. Either one. Not sure which one it is. But it was hard for me. Math was I loved math when I got to high school. It clicked. But geometry was hard for me. Then they told me years ago, they're like, you're going to teach geometry. And I'm like, no, I don't want to teach geometry. And they said, why? And I said, because I did not have a good geometry foundation from high school. It was hard for me. How am I supposed to teach it to a kid that's also going to see it as a hard subject? I say this to say, over the years, I've learned why it's such a hard subject. And one of the reasons is the vocabulary. It's like a language. It's like a whole new language, right? And that makes it challenging. This sentence right here, which y'all probably see is easy, and that's because we just talked about the vocab. If some time had passed and I threw this at you, you might forget that this word, supplementary, is telling you how to set it up. It's a secret way of saying, hey, set it up, add it to equal 180, right? So that is one of the challenges of geometry, and if you can learn the vocab, your life is a lot easier. Set up the equation, plug in what you know, clean it up, subtract 50, divide by 2, what do you get? 65? I don't know. Look at it. I can look at it if you want me to. Let's see. You know what it was? You have right here the correct equation. Then you moved it over here so you had more room, and you forgot the 1. So you did 30 divided by 2. All right, look at number 9. This is another way to write this. It says, find the measure of an angle, so we're finding an angle, whose supplement is 101 degrees. They're saying to you, one angle that you don't know, added to the angle that they're giving you, is supplementary. They're secretly telling you, hey, there's 2 angles that add to 180. One of them's 101. Tell me the other one. The way they ask that is they say, find the supplement.
Ms. Holcombe?
Yes?
This is Ms. Meyer. Can you please send Anna Fragoso to my office, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Myers.
She's an assistant principal. You don't have to pack up. You should be back. So if you'll go on, I'm sure you're fine.
If you're in trouble, they send you to the office.
Yeah, you're fine.
If you're in trouble, they send you to the
Take your phone, just in case, because she may, I think they're supposed to send like 5-star passes to you. But if someone stops you, just say, I just got called to the front office. Yeah. All right, so what'd you get for the angle that we're looking for? 79 degrees? Very good. All right, how do you feel about supplementary? Not bad?
really bad.
Okay, hold on. That would be the doctor's office calling me now. Do y'all remember what complementary means?
I can teach it, I already did.
Means they add to what?
90.
Hello.
Y'all want me to teach it?
No, I'm good.
So, supplementary angles are angles that add to 180 degrees. Complementary angles, those are angles that add to equal 90 degrees. It's the exact same concept as supplementary. It's just instead of adding to 180, they add to 90. What is that special type of angle that measures 90? A left angle? A right angle.
Hey, you stole that from me.
So the pictures in this case, instead of opening up to a straight angle, they're going to be right angles, okay?
Not a left angle. Right.
If you look right here, 2 angles that add to 90 degrees, and I would like you to squeeze in here the example that this picture, draw the little square so you remember that it's definitely adding to 90. This picture is an example of complementary angles. Now we're going to do 4 practice problems, and at this point you can take off with it, okay, because it's the same thing, but they add to what? 90, not 180. All right, so looking at this first picture, number 10, you have a picture of some angles, you have an X in there, your clue is the little square to to say, hey, these add to 90. So you can either do the subtraction method or you can set up the equation that they add to equal 90. And what do you get for this one? This one's not bad. You get 18 degrees. All right, now, if you would, go to the next one. Shh, focus. Okay, is this correct or wrong? This is wrong, why? Because I wrote 180, so just be careful here. Always make sure you're checking what it adds to. It definitely adds to 90, not 180. Nope. And then watch your arithmetic. 90 minus 2 is 88, divided by 8 is 11. When you plug 11 in, you should get 58 and what? 32? Look at the last problem, last two problems. Find the measure of an angle whose complement is 24. Complement means angle plus angle equals 90. Well, if one of them's 24, the other one would have to be what? What? 66? 90 minus 24? Is that what you did? That's correct. Number 13 is saying, given that angles A and B are complementary, where A is 12 and B is 2x minus 4, find x. This is the exact same thing as this picture right here. They just didn't draw the picture for you. They're expecting you to take this highlighted vocab word and to remember, okay, so angle A plus angle B adds to equal 90. So we have 12 plus 2x minus 4. All right, so that's 2x plus 8. Subtract 8. What is that, 82? Divide by 2, what do you get? 41? All right. Let's look at the bottom. I know these are intimidating, so we're going to do them together as a class. Always, sometimes, or never. Supplementary angles are linear pairs. This would be sometimes. We said they don't always appear drawn together, touching. Sometimes they're separated, but they can still be supplementary. Linear pairs are always supplementary. This means you already have the line. Are they always supplementary? Yes, always. Are complementary angles always adjacent, meaning side by side? Sometimes. Sometimes in the picture they might be drawn separate. Non-adjacent angles are vertical. Sometimes. That was tricky. Vertical angles are never adjacent, but just because two angles are non-adjacent doesn't make them vertical. Vertical angles are adjacent. Never. I just answered that. An acute angle supplement has to be obtuse. Listen to that. Supplement means they add to what? 180. If an acute angle is part of the supplementary angles, does that mean the other one has to be obtuse? Yes. Always. All right. Your expectation is finish Friday's Delta Math, and then there will be a new one today. The new one today is going to mimic the quiz.